Hello and welcome back to the Infinite Text. My name is Patrick and today we're going to talk about evil and conflict and why they are important for an RPG campaign. I got the idea for this video from WotC removing the orcs from the monster manual and introducing them as a playable race. And while I'm not going to bash them for it, it's fine, it's their game, whatever they want to do with it. I want to use this as an opportunity to talk about why I think it's not good for the implied fantasy setting behind D&D, medieval 14th, 15th century Europe, to turn this into a childlike version where you have these orcs wandering the grasslands as a family, and you have dwarves baking black muffins together with half-elves, and then you have these cute beholders that look more like a plush toy than a dangerous creature with tentacle arms with eyes on them and stuff like that. I think it's very important for a campaign to have evil, conflict, and turmoil, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. So before we start, I want to say that this is all obviously just my opinion. If you think differently, then leave a comment and we can discuss the topic. And also, this video is in nowhere complete. You can talk hours and hours about these two concepts, evil and conflict. So it's just my opinion and what I am thinking now, or like within the last 2 or 3 days where I was preparing for making this video. So obviously for our world, I would wish that we wouldn't have conflict and evil. That would be awesome. We would spend our resources on useful stuff like building things or research, entertainment, education, awesome stuff, but we like to blow money and resources up by killing each other, which is a bad thing. But for an exciting and engaging fantasy story, I think conflict is necessary, because think about what D&D would be without that. A medieval farming simulator where you have a village and then you have just people that live there and they do stuff every day, like Stardew Valley or games like that. I mean, sure, you can go for that, but even if you want to avoid conflict at all costs, there will be conflict. And even if it's just between two neighbors and it's because the apple tree has grown too far over the fence into the other neighbor's property. So there's your conflict. And in my opinion, there is no good fantasy story without that. If there is one at all, I wouldn't know. All the ones I have read, they are full of conflict. Lord of the Rings, Joe Abercrombie series, Half a World, or the First Law trilogy. Great books, by the way. Tad Williams books, all the fantasy books I have read, they are full of conflict, and conflict is the main driver. Evil is the main source of conflict, and conflict is the main driver for the story, so seems to be quite necessary, doesn't it? Evil, the bad guy, the thing in the swamp, the lich who wants to awaken the undead army. Those are all evil things we know too well, either from fantasy story or from real life. Maybe not liches and undead armies, but things like the Nazis. Truly evil people who killed millions of people based on racial prejudice and political ideology. Now, in human history, there has always been a desire to make up stories about these kind of heroes who deal with the evil people, and there has rarely been a fictional story where there's no evil faction or a evil creature person who wants to see an evil master plan succeed. Maybe in sci-fi, where you have, for example, 2001: The Space Odyssey, where HAL 9000 pretty much goes crazy because he has to tell a lie and he isn't programmed for that, and that's why he kills a couple of people on board the starship. And the actions of evil people usually lead to pain and misery and suffering for maybe just a small village or maybe hundreds of thousands of people. And then there's someone, a normal human, a normal commoner, who takes up responsibility, takes action in their own hands, and the hero is born. And through strife and tribulation, usually at the expense of a couple of extras and side characters, they get to a point where they challenge evil directly and then defeat it and save the day. But what is the meaning of these type of stories? What do they do for us? I think the obvious answer here is that they keep the world interesting and moving, that they introduce challenges and tribulations for people to overcome. And most people want to play these stories. Most people want to be the hero who saves the village or who saves the entire nation of the evil lich who is awakening the undead army, blah, 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 stuff like that. And they want to be that good guy who is the opposite of evil. But they also do two other things for us. I think they show us that through braveness and motivation and responsibility, almost everything can be overcome. It is a tough challenge to kill a black dragon. That is tough. That is not something that a couple of commoners with their pitchforks do. You need to have gear, you need to have experience, you need to have people at your side you can trust and you can rely on. And they also show that there's always hope, no matter how grim and dark everything is. There's always hope, there's always good left in you. There's always something good to rescue, to save, to bring to light again. Just like in Darth Vader was some good as well. Maybe it wasn't worth very much because he died after he found out, but still, Luke knew that there was good in him, and he brought that out at the end. And then there's the evil player character, the group of vicious bandits outside the town limits, or the thieves that want to get revenge on the town guard because they have spoiled their last robbery and put a couple of them in jail. This can be really fun campaigns where the players take on the role of the evil side and they, for example, try to steal a large shipment of coin that is going through the country because they have to settle a trade debt with a nation overseas and they have to ship these coins from the next port. Can be super fun. And if you take evil out of the game, then I think the entire cycle breaks, because if there's no conflict, then what happened in the past? And are there legends and folklore? What are they talking about? Is the party just going to stroll into a dungeon and take out the treasure and there's no one protecting it, or there's like nothing living in these caves or dungeons, whatever? And if there is no conflict, why would you have dungeons in the first place? Why would you put stuff on the ground to hide it or to protect it from sight or from someone stealing it? It all just doesn't make sense anymore. The entire setting of castles and ruins and dragons and all that stuff, it all just falls apart if you take out evil and conflict of the game. So you see that, in my opinion, evil is a very integral part of any role-playing campaign, and also for its success, because it drives the motivation of evil things, or, well, there are evil things, and they do stuff which has consequences, and then the players have to react to that. And usually, the consequence of evil actions is conflict. I would define conflict as anything that gets in the way or hinders someone to achieve their goal. And that might be a bit of an unusual definition, but let me give you a couple of examples to make it a bit clearer. There's a goblin tribe that lives in a cave and they don't want anyone else to intrude. There's a lich who awakens an undead army, and that army is going to attack the nearby village. You have two farmers who have a dispute over land issues. You have two adventuring parties who are worrying about a treasure in a dungeon. And you have two co-workers who are arguing about how to more efficiently and faster process wood at their sawmill. I would even go as far to say that bad weather and a dangerous mountainous landscape can be seen as conflict between nature, and I know that nature doesn't have to be sentient necessarily, but as a conflict between nature and the traveler. So it seems that conflict is not necessarily connected to evil. The goblins just want to live in a cave, and the farmers just want the land that is rightfully theirs. And each of the adventuring parties wants the treasure to get more rich or to buy a cottage or whatever. And you may think to yourself, now, didn't he just say that evil and conflict are inherently connected and that one is the consequence of the other? Yes, that's true. But there are these conflicts that are more grounded in our real world, like these wars between two nations and disputes between neighbors, that are also really awesome to play. You can take your party and have them be spies for one side in a war between two nations, or you can have them be like investigators to find out who poisoned the drinking water of the village and why all the farm animals are dying. That's awesome stuff. But to expand role-playing and D&D beyond the scope of these real-world scenarios, they introduced fantasy. And with that, the evil creature, this being full of hatred. There's no talking to it. It has an unquenchable thirst for power and domination, and it will do anything and get rid of everyone to achieve their goals. There's nothing to love or cherish about a lich or a demon from the plane of fire. And most orcs are just vile and brutal, and they hate anything that is not orc. So you can't talk to them, you can't reason with them, except right before dying. Then most of them start talking and start begging for their life. But until then, they are evil and they have to be forced into this state of, let's say, surrender. But these types of conflicts that go into the supernatural are the stuff that heroes are made from. That is the legends of old, where dragons still roamed the skies, and the armies of humans battled the armies of orcs on the never-ending plains of grass. They introduced the possibility for normal commoners, for normal humans, to transcend titles like Lord and Baron and King and become these superheroes that slay beasts where most people would falter and flee at first sight. And so through conflict, the adventure is born, which is the perfect place for a normal person to emerge as a hero and discover their greatness and might. And if none of that exists, neither natural nor supernatural, then there's no reason to fight. If there's no conflict, then there will be no hero to emerge and fight oppression or whatever it is they have to fight. And normal people will remain normal people and they will live their normal lives. And your campaign will basically be a medieval farming simulator in the 13th, 14th, 15th century, whatever, without conflict. Because as we all know, these times were full of conflict. So in my opinion, as you can see, evil and conflict are two crucial ingredients in a successful and engaging RPG campaign. And since the video is coming to an end, I want to go back full circle to the beginning of the episode and talk about WOTC, cleaning up D&D, making it more accessible for a wider range of customers, because that's really what I think their intention is with this. If you remember what the true core foundation of D&D is, and I'm not talking about miniature wargaming and Brownsteins and Blackmoors, they are all very important for the development and the creation of D&D, but the true core foundation is the game of make-believe, a children's game. And in this game, you can do whatever you want. There's no need to limit the options for people because they will choose what they want to play. If they are playing with their children, they can play a campaign where they have to help a rabbit find carrots and whatever else rabbits have to find. If they are playing with their friends, they can play campaigns where they have to save a village from an undead threat emerging from a crypt at night. No need to change rules, no need to change monster descriptions or remove stuff because you think it's racist and it's problematic. This might be your opinion, but there is no reason to change anything because people will choose from the stuff that you give them what suits them and their campaign, and if they do a good job, then their players will enjoy the world they created and they will have a good time. And with this, I will end this video. I thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, then hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I'd say see you next time at the Infinite X. Bye bye.